Lee and Jay Greeson of Southeastern 16 here. SEC football power rankings entering week 11. We count them down from the bottom to the top. Before we do that, a reminder, I know we brought you by FanDuel, but also our friends from GameTime. Sidekicks, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, every SEC school, 350 other universities, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, shaker cups, everything you need. SE16 gets you 20% off your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Jay,
this is a celebration chalice, Chris. This is the skies are blue in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Basketball starts tonight. The head bang against the wall that the disaster was Hugh Freeze is over. I don't give a damn if they hire Otis Campbell from Mayberry and he shows up and puts a moonshine still on the sideline. I really don't. It's better
that might be frowned upon. Well, yeah, the power rankings are kind of irrelevant to Auburn right now. They'll be coming soon, but not right away because your number 16 team is Arkansas. Has a great quarterback ever been wasted in the SEC? I mean, I guess they haven't wasted him offensively. Offense isn't the problem for Arkansas most of the time. Well, I mean, everything is a problem for Arkansas. But you know what I mean. Taylor Green could be looking at 2-10 when this thing is over.
Well, you ask a fair question, and I'm going to counter with the team that's next on the list about a great quarterback being wasted. Look, man, I have a big picture. I have a big picture question that I can't find the answer to on the interwebs. Has a school ever fired a coach, named an interim, and then fired the interim? Because Bobby Petrino, with 18 penalties for 190 plus yards,
wow,
is on pace to be fired as the interim.
I mean, it literally is something new with him every week. I mean, there are actually some commonalities. There's some recurring themes to the dysfunction, but there were some new things introduced Saturday too.
And look, Taylor Green's going to get a shot in the league. That kid's way too talented. And I'll say this too about the malaise at the bottom. I'm not going to say the bottom third, but it's close to the bottom third. It made me proud rewatching that football game as an Auburn graduate. And I'm not getting on a soapbox here, but that place is still lit amid all of the frustration. Arkansas, not lit.
No, decidedly not lit. And probably not going to be lit the rest of the way out, which is going to include at LSU, at Texas, and Missouri at home. Good grief. Yeah, I mean, I guess, is the 5-7 bowl still a thing? I guess it is.
Well,
Arkansas would have to win all three of those to go.
You got to be the top ranked in, what is it? APR, academic progress rate.
Is that a thing still?
I think so. Didn't Akron just get on like double secret probation for having, amid all the chaos that is college football right now and all the unknown, Akron got probation, and that's the ultimate Jerry Tarkanian.
I was going to say I know exactly what quote you're thinking about, and I thought it too.
The NCAA is so mad at Kentucky they just put Cleveland State on 2 years of probation. So Akron's academic progress rate, they got a bowl ban for this upcoming year. Akron's been to 2 bowls in their entire football history. Putting Akron on a bowl ban is like banning me from dating Jessica Alba. It just doesn't flipping matter.
Well, somebody else is in trouble this weekend. Hugh Freeze's wife got put on double secret golf probation, as you may have heard.
For what?
You don't know the joke?
No.
Okay. Before the news broke, somebody had tweeted a graphic about a tee time being canceled at the Auburn Country Club or whatever. I don't know the whole thing. I didn't get that deep into the weeds, but it kind of became a thing on Twitter yesterday that his wife had a tee time canceled at 1:30, which I think is when they had a team meeting. That would have been great if you got that. I figured you would, but
No, man. I've been too busy raising juice boxes and sneaking my kids' Halloween candy out of their bag, celebrating the news that I don't have to look at Hugh Freeze and hear so close anymore.
So you wait, is there a correlation between the Hugh Freeze is firing you, or you sneaking your kids Halloween candy, or was that just happening anyway?
I think
that happened anyway with me.
This happened to overlap the Sunday after Thanksgiving, so Sunday after Halloween.
Favorite Halloween candy you have snuck out of your kids' trick-or-treat bags?
All of them that include chocolate, but no coconut.
Yeah.
You can take Almond Joys and Mounds, and y'all can eat all of those.
See, I'll eat those too.
The kids are big right now. There's a lot of Kit Kats. There's a lot of Reese's. There's a lot of Twix. All of those are solid choices.
Yeah, anything with chocolate is hard to beat.
Yes.
I'll do the gummy stuff too. Are you a candy corn guy?
No, bleep no.
Oh,
man.
see, I like it. I think
candy corn sucks. You know what else sucks? I don't know which of the two candies are worse in relation to their ties with a holiday, but the circus peanuts are arguably the worst candy in the history of the world. But the Cadbury eggs are terrible.
Oh, completely disagree.
Oh my God. That's a whole bunch of goo in your mouth, man. That's like eating freshened up gum. I mean, no.
Look, I'm not that discriminatory when it comes to candy.
Peeps are total garbage.
No.
Marshmallows suck. I don't even like s'mores.
Yeah, the list of candy that I want to eat is very, very small. And how are you doing 70s right? The candy pumpkins are better than the candy corn, but I'll take either one.
All right, we spent an hour plus talking about Auburn yesterday.
Yeah.
Just know I'm elated. And I think the biggest takeaway, because it was one of the best questions retrospectively, thinking about it in the chat yesterday, was curious about how much of the roster retention, and because there's a lot of young talent on Auburn's roster. I think firing Hugh Freeze, especially with the offensive talent, gives you a better chance to keep those guys because of the overwhelming frustration. And look, man, swing for the fences. You're Auburn. Swing for the fences. I'm not saying it's the best job out there. It's a great job.
Yeah. You never know.
But DJ Durkin needs to be in the conversation.
Well, he'll get his first crack Saturday. We'll see how that goes. I think Vandy Auburn will be a pretty close game, and I'll be there to see that one in Nashville. But the team that just beat Auburn, Kentucky at 14. Kentucky had been, at 16 for, maybe the whole year. I don't know. But anyway, the Cats get a big win in one of probably the ugliest game that will be played this year in the SEC.
Well, Auburn's amazingly has got a history of those. I mean, like if you look at the top 10 ugliest games in SEC history, you start 3-2 with Mississippi State.
Right.
This 10-3 ain't going to be far down the list.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, man. Bowley was great on third down. There are pieces there. But I'll ask this to the group. True or false? This is Mark Stoops' last year in Lexington. Because I say true. And I think it may be mutual, and they figure it out. I don't know if he does like a Bruce Pearl thing, goes into an AD role in the athletic department. But I just – Wicked Bruce says false, and I appreciate that because I could be 100% wrong. Oh, my God, Sam, I was at that game. Tennessee-Auburn in 2008. Was that like 13-12 or 15-14? It was god awful.
I was thinking about your Stoops question. I don't know. I mean, it feels like he's been on the hot seat for so long that those guys usually go last 3 games. You're looking at last 4 games. Florida, Tennessee Tech, which by the way is unbeaten, I believe. So that won't even be a pushover. Sam would know. Sam could tell us. Sam says Tech's beating Kentucky. He might be right. Followed by at Vanderbilt and then Louisville. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that season's going to end well. But hey, they have stayed in it. They were more than competitive down at Auburn, won a game I didn't think they were going to win. In fact, I didn't give that much thought when I picked it. Maybe I should have.
Wicked Brew makes a real good point about unless Stoops is just ready to walk, forget the buyout because every school has money for buyouts when it's needed. But this is a shark-infested, very deep pool of candidates. I mean, we're a pool of teams looking for candidates. I mean,
yeah,
because if there weren't a whole lot of these schools with openings, LSU and Auburn in particular, if Kentucky could be high on the list of John Summerall, then it's a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, allegedly, that's the place that he's wanted to go. He's an alum, and boy, would that throw a wrench into some stuff because he's probably the top candidate at some places. I would think so. I'll be very interested to see how that one plays out. I would think if they could get him at this point, you do it and move on because otherwise somebody else is going to get him. Sam trash talking at the FCS level here. So, okay, next up on our list, South Carolina. It's just ugly all the way around, and I can't even spell their name right apparently.
Well, I think that's too high, but I mean, it's kibbles and bits at this point. I got a great stat for you. About the level of frustration for South Carolina fans. You take the decade that Steve Spurrier was there out of the equation. In the history of South Carolina football, in terms of the AP poll, this was the highest preseason ranking ever in program history at 13. Steve Spurrier had them ranked higher than that 4 times in his 10 years there. So this, in a lot of ways, going into the year was the non-Spurrier years in Columbia viewed as the best. And look, they're voted on yahoos like me. So take that with a grain of salt because, I mean, who knows, man? I'm throwing hands in candy bowls and throwing back Reese's Cups 4 at a time. But that's the level of plummeting that this has been. And now South Carolina's got to win out just to make a bowl game. Yeah.
And that starts with Texas A&M on the road. That's not happening. You know, Coastal Carolina they'll get, and Clemson maybe too. But 5 and 7 isn't going to do it. People asking, hey, does Beamer reset? I mean, the obvious one would have been Virginia Tech, but I wonder if James Franklin's gotten a big enough leg up on that one that he's the guy.
He's got big legs, so
he does have big legs.
You don't want to Indian wrestle that guy.
No,
I mean, that would just be brutal.
I never know where this is going. All right, next up, Mississippi State 12. Hey, congrats to State. Somebody had to win that game in Arkansas, and it was the Bulldogs, who are now, 5-4? No, the 3 coming up, I don't think they get any of them, but I wouldn't have had on the bingo card that they were close in every game but one so far, either winning or close.
If they win one of the last 3, I can make a real hard argument that Jeff Levy's the SEC Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I can see it.
Depending on other guys. Preseason doom and gloom to being bowl eligible, that's doing a hell of a lot with. I mean, we talked about everybody needing name tags in the preseason meeting room because of the portal turnover. I mean, he's not going to win it because they're going to. If they do get one of the last 3, although it could be an epic Egg Bowl, if you're talking about Ole Miss wanting to get into a playoff, because strange stuff happens in that game every single year. Yes. I'm not even talking about wide receivers peeing on pylons. I'm talking about, hey, Wicked. I actually agree with Wicked here that Lane 100% deserves SEC Coach of the Year, but Lane and company were preseason top 16. And yes, he replaced a first. We'll get to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Stick around.
I think to me right now, the list is 3 guys. Levy could play its way onto it, but I don't think is there yet. because of the job the other three guys have done. Lane Kiffin's one of them. I'll give you my other two later.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably can. Let's see. 11 Florida. Where's this going?
Is Billy Gonzalez one of your two?
Surprisingly, no. He is
Hey,
not.
honestly, where's this going is nobody wants to play Florida because they played their gator tails off Saturday. And honestly, that may be as big of an indictment about the Billy Napier tenure is how hard they played post Billy Napier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I mean, that game was there for the taking, and Florida, like Florida's done all year, just hasn't been able to take it. Other than Texas. But there's some weird game. When we go back and look at this schedule later and look at some of these outcomes, it's gonna be weird to look at in hindsight, like Florida beating Texas, among other things. Number 10, LSU, which kind of stayed here by default. Speaking of what's next, it'll be interesting to see how LSU does under Frank Wilson with Alabama up next.
It will be. And honestly, I think they could get a whole lot of, and it becomes a thing about the interim bounce. Just don't whisper it around Arkansas fans. This is a very similar parallel when Cadillac replaced Harsin and they played better down the stretch. Because Frank Wilson loves LSU. That's the big question, Sam, is how do you go into this process knowing you have immediacy about hiring a football coach, but the dominoes scream they're on an interim university president. They've got a governor sounding off about the inner workings of the athletic department, and even mentioned asking Donald Trump to come make the football coaching hire. And I wish I was kidding about that. That is,
they should let him make the firing.
I'm not even making that up. I can make up a whole lot of stuff that's really entertaining, but I'm not even making that up. So,
yeah.
Look, man, I know what Jeff Guidry was doing. He was pandering to his constituents, and that's fine, which makes me think of, oh, brother, where art thou? Is you or is you not my constituency? And so, but he backed LSU into a terrible corner.
Yeah. I need to watch that again, by the way.
Oh, my gosh. Tremendous. Right there behind Raising Arizona is the best of the Coen brothers' work.
I'm a Coen Brothers fan, and it's weird, but Raising Arizona was funny. He's had a bunch of them. The Coen Brothers have, that is. All right, we got Oreo worked up. I'm gonna let you filibuster for a second.
Oh, the Tennessee Vols, man! Oh man, Sam. All right, big picture in the macro about Tennessee. This is the first time I think we've had Tennessee fan angst towards Josh Heupel. And there was a lot of it on social media. Look, I'm dialed. I follow Auburn because of where I went to school, but where I work professionally, I follow I pay attention to every single Tennessee football game. And it is, in depth. I'm a sports columnist for the Chattanooga Times Free Press. It's kind of my job description. But when we talked about it at the beginning of the season, Chris, that if Josh Heupel can keep Joey Aguilar's interceptions down, they've got a chance to be special. Tennessee's fourth nationally in passing yards per game. So Aguilar's been good, but he's also found the other jerseys. He threw 2 more picks against Oklahoma, bringing his total to 8. And really a divergent play that right now you could argue being the biggest landslide single play of the SEC to date is our Thomas Mason going 71 yards with that.
Oh my goodness.
In the first half, breaking like 4 tackles from the same dude, injuring his hamstring, something to keep an eye on moving forward because he's a dude. But Tennessee's down 16-10 at home at halftime. despite outgaining Oklahoma 255-99 in the first half.
Look, I get they're not happy. Tennessee's got high standards, and it should. It's a great program with a lot of history and tradition and a lot of wins. But let's not forget where you came from here, okay? The decade and a half before that was a disaster. He's the first guy to bring you stability in a while. The quarterback thing threw their whole offense into a loop. I think he's done a great job. I mean, the narrative on them preseason was the receiving room is thin. They don't know entirely what they've got. You don't know what you have with Aguilar. And the defense was going to be pretty good. No, the defense is not good, but that can also be at least partially explained by your two starting corners being gone pretty much the whole year. By the way, you lose a top half of the first round corner on your roster. That's going to leave a mark right now. That's going to leave a mark for anybody. I don't know. The Tim Banks stuff, too, to me has kind of gotten out of hand. He's done a tremendous job since he's been there. They've had a half season that's not even been bad. The defense has not been great. I get it. But I don't know. To me, those guys have done a lot of great work. Like, how many SEC teams, fan bases right now, if Tennessee just said, all right, we're done with Josh Heupel and Tim Banks would be thrilled?
Well, a lot of them. But
a lot of them.
And I don't want to put words in Tennessee fans' mouth. I'm just saying nobody's saying Heupel's on a hot seat. But
right.
I am saying
but it was a thing on social media this week, and to the point that Adam Sparks wrote about it.
There got to be changes. And I know when Tennessee fans were talking about change on social media, they were talking about assistant coach changes. And look, I get it. And I think every SEC school, with considering the money at stake, if you don't have lofty expectations, then you're asking too little of the guys making this much money. But considering the injuries, considering the overhaul, this was far more than just a reload, especially with the corner that you mentioned. Their top two corners really haven't contributed anything. And because you lose your best offensive player in Dylan Sampson, you lose your best defensive player in James Pierce. He maybe wasn't the most productive last year as you made the playoffs, but it is. And then the whole quarterback fiasco. And look, Heupel has completely, they're 6-3. They don't have a win against a team with a winning record, and they're 0-3 against ranked teams. I get the criticisms. I was on social media late into the evening on Saturday night. But know this. He's right there with Lane Kiffin among the best quarterback whisperers in this conference. Period. End of conversation. Because look where he has Tennessee right now. Top 5 nationally in scoring offense. Top 5 nationally in passing offense. And he's doing it with other programs' retreads, man.
Yep.
I mean, if you are a portal quarterback and you are not making a phone call to Knoxville, then you're getting bad advice.
Yeah, you're right on all that. By the way, a lot of really good thoughts in the comment. And Sam hit on something I think is kind of key. Man, the prices for stuff in Knoxville for games, and this is basketball too, it is crazy expensive to go to Tennessee games now. And when the prices on stuff go up to pretty outrageous levels, I mean, not that outrageous expectations haven't always been a part of most SEC programs, but that really, really, really raises the temperature on your coaches too. So I don't know. I think that, like, if we had this ranking coaches discussion before the season, and we both said, okay, Kirby Smart is 1, who's 2? And you said Heupel. I said, I think Heupel could be. He might not be. I think right now, if I had to make a pick, he is. And part of that is I think that they have figured out a way. I know it has not gone the way they wanted to go. But, man, they've been in pretty much every game so far. Now, like, you can argue that maybe the Arkansas game at the end of the game should have been a game. I get it. But I don't know. I think with his track record, they've been so good since he's been there. I think if I'm taking coaches to start a program, he might be my guy behind Kirby. in this
Well,
league.
it's funny that I've changed your mind, but I now have Lane over him. So,
Okay.
I mean, and look, man, you want to talk about guys who are doing work. I have become I don't think anybody's going to get him out of Andy. Clark Lee's doing work. And every time that guy opens his mouth, I'm impressed. And so is Drink. So,
Yeah.
I mean, look, the story's coming out about season tickets in Knoxville with the 10% talent fee or whatever they've added onto those things. I don't know, Sam, if you saw it in the Knoxville News Sentinel, but there was a letter to the editor from like a guy who wrote, he was an 88-year-old guy who said he'd been part of the foundation and donation process since they renovated the bowling alley, Thompson Bowling Arena, back in like the 70s. And he's been completely priced out of season tickets his family have had for 50 years.
Yeah. You hear that story a lot. It feels like being in this state. Going to take a break before we get to the top half of this to remind you about some other people who help make this show possible. That includes our friends at Yearly Company. Go ahead and get ahead of your Christmas shopping. Yearly Company, a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning. Each piece handicrafted from solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That's where the sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT takes 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Get a head start on your Christmas shopping, guys, and help out those who help our show. We are also brought to you by our friends at ROKFORM, which makes the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting, SEC 25, get you 25% off your entire order. Get the phone case and the vent clip, and you can thank me for that later. That's what I did. Okay, getting along to our next one. Just a moment here. Missouri at 8 by default. I think that's where Missouri was a week ago, maybe. It stayed here. Big game coming up this weekend with A&M.
This is the tier that I think we go now, and I think it's been trimmed a little bit because Tennessee's down at 9, and everybody behind them, they're out of the conversation anyway. This is the tier of teams that control their playoff destiny. It's the top half of the league. Missouri wins out because that'll be wins over A&M and at Oklahoma. They're in. With 2 losses, Missouri's in.
Yeah. But the 10-2 conversation could be super interesting.
And it could be super meaningless depending on – I mean, look, the SEC had a great weekend. Big picture, Tech loses. Cincinnati loses. Miami loses. I mean, there were a lot of these fringe teams. The ACC's playing the SEC needs Virginia to lose, and because the ACC's playing itself into a one-bid league if it's not careful.
Yeah, good weekend for the SEC in terms of ACC scoreboard watching for sure. Number 7, Vanderbilt. I said I'd give you my head. I think Clark Lee is my coach of the year right now. Probably Elko number 2 and Kiffin 3 is probably how I'd vote it. And the reason is, I mean, just that job was in the complete sewer when he took it. And 5 years later, I mean, we never would thought we would have said Vanderbilt in playoff contention. I think it's probably not going to happen. I don't think they run the table, but they might. I think some of their cracks are starting to show a little bit. They've got to find more consistency and be a little more careful with mistakes. But, hey, the fact that Clark Lee's got Vanderbilt even in the conversation in November is just unbelievable.
Our 3 are the same, but I flip 1 and 3.
Okay.
And we can talk about it when we get back up further up. But I think Clark Lee, I think this is going to be the most successful run for Vandy as long as he stays there, more successful than Franklin since the early days of Vanderbilt dominance in the SEC back when Tennessee felt obliged to hire General Neyland because they couldn't beat Vanderbilt. And now Clark Lee, I loved his answers post-game about Texas after the Texas game, because if you need an image of how much this program's changed, that would have been a moral victory for so many previous Vanderbilt teams that they battled till the end. He was pissed that the team, because he said point blank, the team that wanted it more won the game, and that's unacceptable. And I mean, it was look, man, every time I see more and more on Clark Lee, I wish he was coaching my team. I really do. And that, I don't know if I could pay a bigger compliment. And I think this builds beyond Diego Pavia. I think if Vanderbilt wants to get serious about this and does the old Lou Holtz thing at Notre Dame and allows him some allowances into admissions in the program, because Vanderbilt, with the exception of maybe the Texas oil money, Vanderbilt can money whip anybody in this league. We just don't know how much their endowment is.
Yeah, when it wants to. It's a weird deal.
It is.
That would require longer than we got here. They have the ability to write huge checks, but the administrative willingness to do that always is another thing. So, I forgot he was coach of the year last year. That might maybe hurt his chances to do it again this year and get a lot to play out. Like if they win one of the last three, he's not getting it, but still. Sam wants to know his buyout. I don't know what his buyout is. Jimmy Sexton.
Nobody does. Nope. Yeah. Because their contracts are made public if you get federal funds. Vanderbilt, being a private school, we don't know all the details of contract inner workings because you can't. It's a newspaper term. You can't FOIA Freedom of Information Act. You can't FOIA those details, and because Vandy will say, "Well, no, we don't want to give it to you," and they don't have to.
All right, may I introduce to you the potential wrench in all 11-1 and 10-2 teams make the playoff in the SEC, and that might be Texas. Hear me out on this, okay? Texas now has got wins over of consequence.
Oklahoma.
They lost the Florida game. Oklahoma neutral site. Mississippi State on the road, nice win. Not a great win, but a nice win. Vanderbilt at home, really, really good win. Coming up at Georgia, Arkansas at home, and A&M at home. Did I miss one here? I guess not. Give Texas a win over either Georgia or A&M and a win over Arkansas. Your losses, you're looking at a loss in Florida. That's not good. One of those two games. And then you lost at Ohio State in the opener, which is probably going to go unbeaten. That's a lot of gaudy wins and a really talented team. And I do wonder if in that case, a 9-3 Texas edges a 10-2 somebody else.
Not in the league. The 9-3 Texas may edge a 10-2 Georgia Tech. Or depending on if that wins over A&M, potentially a 10-2 Notre Dame. But because here's the thing, that 10-2, if that 9-3 is going to have losses to head-to-head competition within the league, and the logjam coming up, look. They're going to need to be 9-3 and get in. Texas is going to have to get help because you're going to need the right matchups. Like you're going to need Oklahoma to win out because then you can say, well, we beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Oklahoma is another interesting one too in that discussion. But let me just give you a for instance, okay? Let's say that you're deciding as a committee between the last spot between a 10-2 Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is going 10-2. I think Ole Miss is going 11-1, but just throwing this out there. A 10-2 Vanderbilt. Not sure Vanderbilt's going 10-2, but for example, throwing it out there. And then you've got Texas at at 9-3, beating Vanderbilt head-to-head, beat Oklahoma head-to-head. And again, you would give them either a win over Georgia or A&M.
It really needs to be Georgia because that would be the biggest win they have outside the state of Texas.
Yeah. But, I mean, let's say let's say A&M's unbeaten going into the final game, and they get that one. I'm just saying there's a lot of big wins on the Texas resume if they get to that point. That's a lot of ifs. I just think it's interesting.
But I still think 9-3 is 9-3. Somebody put it in the chat. And, hey, are we going to do something live tomorrow night on the playoff release?
I would like to. I
really think we should because I think the positioning at the top and teams like Texas and a couple of the teams we just mentioned are paramount. I mean, because honestly, Vandy, what we thought was going to be a tougher back end of the schedule, they now don't have any margin of error. And and beating Auburn at home is not going to look as good as maybe some of us.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. See, beating Auburn at home, beating Tennessee and Knoxville don't look quite as good as maybe they did a couple of weeks ago. And that's part of the problem they've got. And I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm just throwing out because I think it could be a very interesting discussion. And also Notre Dame is in there too. So, all right, number 5, Oklahoma. We put Oklahoma ahead of Texas. Texas did beat Oklahoma head-to-head. I put Oklahoma 5 and Texas 6, but mostly just because I think Oklahoma has been a little bit more consistent on a week-to-week basis. And, oh, by the way, one of those losses came with Mateer just coming back from the hand issue. So I gave Oklahoma a bit of grace there, but, could easily argue Texas won that head-to-head, so settle there. It'll play out.
That's unbelievably athletic defense, man. I mean,
oh my goodness, yes.
I need to go into my email and put my ballot out there because I just always want to be transparent with my ballot because I think I had Texas ahead of Oklahoma because I value head-to-head.
Yeah, I think you did too. I think the others of us went the other way just based on overall. I mean, let's face it, Texas is super talented. Texas, if it plays to its capability, it can beat anybody and everybody on the remaining schedule, which if it got to that point would include the playoffs. But this is the team that darn near lost at Kentucky in overtime, darn near lost to Mississippi State in overtime. I just feel like showing up and playing one really good game doesn't negate some of the other stuff. So, but we'll see. I mean, Texas is capable of doing whatever Texas wants. I just feel like Texas was more motivated and ready to play Saturday than it had been in a while. Be very interested to see what they do down the stretch because you know what? If Arch Manning throws for 320 every week, Jay, I'm not sure anybody's beating him.
Well, that's fair, brother. I still don't know. I think their defense is more talented, but I don't think they're playing better than Auburn's defense.
Well, they're not right now. They're not right now. Yeah. Number 4, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin absolutely in that coach of the year conversation. Ole Miss has got, let's see. I looked at the schedule on my left. The Citadel this week. Florida. I believe that one is that one in Oxford? I think it is. And then you've got State on the road.
Well, yes, it is in Oxford because everybody in the post-game Ole Miss highlights were talking about, and yes, this is early Egg Bowl smack talk about how they've got nothing but home games left.
Yeah. Hey, Randy's taking me to task for Texas. I get it. And I might be wrong. I just want to see a little more consistency out of you guys. And again, the Oklahoma game came with Mateer just coming back from injury. So it's if you want to reverse, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. It'll play out. Number 3, Georgia. What do we say about the Bulldogs?
Oh, I got something great to say. Let me ask you this. All right, first big picture, this is nowhere close to the best team Kirby Smart's had. This may be the best coaching job Kirby Smart's done.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that conversation, when you talk about, look, man, so many times we put into perspective, and I had Ole Miss a spot ahead of Georgia. I had these two flipped. And I'm trying to get my rankings in a position I can put them in the chat because I want everybody to see how I voted. But Lane Kiffin has done an amazing job replacing a generational defense in Oxford and trading out a first-round NFL quarterback who looks like the version of a star with the New York Giants for a guy from Ferris State who is actually the backup plan and not missing a beat and being in the cusp. I completely would vote for Lane Kiffin as coach of the year. And I understand why everybody's kicking the tires on the guy. But I remember telling you in the offseason, coming out of SEC Media Days, I said Kirby's enthusiasm and subtle confidence tells me he loves coaching this football team. And it is apparent because they are so mentally tough that you don't want to face them. Look, they faced fourth quarter deficits in games they ended up winning against Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Florida. And we all know what they did on the road in a 10-0 hole right before halftime at Auburn. This is a team that they're not the best football team in the league. They may be the most mentally tough.
Yeah, I think that for sure. I think you're right on that. He's done a great job. I didn't mean to shortchange Ole Miss in the discussion. I'm in a little bit of a rush here.
Right.
I don't know what to say. I just feel like they're pretty consistent every week. I've come to the point like I feel like that the offense is solid every week, the defense is solid every week, and you get, other than that Washington State week, it feels like they've been remarkably consistent. And not far away from being, I mean, 1 quarter away from being unbeaten. Georgia kind of took it to them fourth quarter down, in that one, but still.
Not only remarkably consistent, but it really feels like since Washington State week, Ole Miss is, as much as anybody this side of Alabama, is getting better every week.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too, especially I think on the defensive side of the ball where they just, double spied Lenore Sellers and said, try to beat us. And that game really, I'm not sure it was as close as the final score, to be honest with you. Cause it didn't feel like Carolina ever really had a realistic chance to win that one. Moving on to number 2, Alabama, not much to say here. Big game with LSU Saturday. Crimson Tide had a week off and they are looking at LSU, Oklahoma, was at Eastern Illinois and Auburn. Chances Alabama runs the table.
Better than average, but one, they got to play in Jordan-Hare, and that game in that place, God almighty, man. Everything from the kick six to 4th and 31 to everything in between. I will say this. In his career, Kalen DeBoer is 19-3 against ranked opponents. In his time as Alabama, he's only 9-4 against unranked opponents. They better be ready to play against an LSU team that also had a week off, clearly has talent, and now is about to be out from underneath the thumbnail of Brian Kelly. I'm intrigued by what happened Saturday night in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I am too. I think that game could be terrific, and it usually is. Number 1, A&M remains there after a bye week. Aggies have got on the remaining schedule at Missouri, what I think will be a dandy of a game. Then you've got South Carolina. Then you got your FCS team. I can't read the schedule. And then at Texas, which will be, man, that is shaping up to be a fantastic game with a lot of stakes.
And Bo said Game Day and SEC Live have avoided the Aggies all year. You're not going to avoid it Thanksgiving weekend, brother.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's what's coming, especially if Texas gets one against Georgia. and they'll get Arkansas. I mean, my goodness, you've got, in that case, you might have SEC title on the line. You might have a Texas playoff berth on the line. You might have a lot of stuff to play for there, in addition to two teams that despise each other.
Yes.
So anyway, all right, we're going to be out of here. Got to get to previews and other stuff. Basketball season starts tonight. Blake and Max did a live stream earlier. You can catch that on replay if you want, and we'll have all kinds of basketball coverage coming up. I won't be a part of that probably for a bit, just because of needing to pay attention to football, but I'll get there eventually, and certainly going to have my eye on the TV tomorrow night. So very much looking forward to that. Thank you guys for being here today. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed our chat. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. Have a great rest of the week. God bless you. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.